up, you guys? It's your girl Mo Christine. On today's episode of Kicking It with Mo, we've got my friend Trevor Lui.
What up, Mo?
What's up? Thanks for kicking it with me.
Thanks for having me.
No problem. Now, for those who may not know you, you got some kicks. Now, I'm not gonna lie. One of my Instagram pictures has all your kicks in the background. I had to use that setup because it was fire.
Thank you. Thank you.
But for those who do not know you, let them know a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm a Torontonian. I'm actually like a restaurant dude for the most part. I wrote a new cookbook, but about 3-4 years ago, I got back into my love for sneakers, basically because of trying to relive my childhood of not being able to afford shoes as a kid, and now slowly kind of like getting back into things that I only wish that I could have put my feet in when I was a kid.
Yeah, makes sense. All right. Well, tell us a little bit about the food, because I did do Mo Eats episode at McCann.
Kapow in the mouth.
I wasn't expecting that, but it was so good.
Hashtag of the year.
Kapowing in my mouth. Yeah.
Yeah, we got two concepts. I mean, food business has changed a lot in the last year, and we've changed a lot. We moved a lot of our stuff onto like online for packaged goods and meal kits and virtual stuff, but we're getting ready for the 2021 season again, and Joybird Fried Chicken is coming back, kind of revived. We got a new menu, and then we have a noodle shop in downtown as well, and we do Singaporean style like curry soupy noodles and dumplings, as you had.
Yeah, you're making me hungry. All right, so enough about food. Let's talk about kicks. So when and how did you get into kicks?
Actually, I remember the day that I kind of got back into it. There are certain things that I love to collect. I love collecting vintage jerseys, snapbacks, and flat brim caps. And I've always liked sneakers, but I was never really like a sneaker head because I didn't really know much about it. And about 5 years ago, I was on a business trip in Vegas, and I was in this mall, and I saw a pair of Jordan 1s, and they were actually mids. And at the time, I actually didn't remember what a mid and a high was. And we can get into that. But the shoe reminded me of the original 85, the Jordan 1, which I actually had a pair as a kid, but it was canvas. And a lot of people don't know that there was a canvas version of this. And in 85, no one actually bought the shoe because no one really knew who Jordan was. And my mom, we were poor kids from Rexdale, she showed up with a pair of canvas Jordan 1s. I'm like, whoa, and they were the band ones, so it was black and red. So I saw these mids that reminded me, it was a reverse band, and I bought them, and that was my first pair. And then I just started buying them. And then this last year and a half, I just really got into just buying shoes that reminded me of my childhood. And then once you get started, you can't stop.
Yeah.
You can't stop. It's like a tattoo.
Yeah.
You just can't stop. So.
Okay, so how many pairs do you have?
I think it'd be really damaging for me to admit how many pairs I have, because my wife still doesn't know how many pairs I have, or my ex-wife.
Okay.
But as you probably know, as a sneaker person or a sneaker head, we have shoes everywhere.
Yes.
So you have a dedicated room for your DS and your favorite kicks. And then I got shoes all in my trunk of my car. I got shoes under my bed. I got shoes probably like on a dry rack at one of the restaurants. There's just shoes everywhere. But now I've started to like wade through them, and then like there's like the beaters, the donation pile, the sell now pile, and then these are my I'll never sell. I finally have them after being, missing shoes for 40 years.
Yeah,
kind of
yeah. So he has a lot.
I got a lot. Those are just sneakers, not dress shoes.
Wow. Okay, so with that being said, can you tell us how much you spent on shoes?
I should probably not do that. Here's the thing. Here's the thing about sneaker life these days, and everyone knows this, right? We are back in a place where sneakers are almost unattainable again.
Yes.
Because the manufacturers and the stores have made it in a way where you can't actually just walk into a store and buy a shoe anymore, because they make it so limited. It's a raffle. Funny enough, there's this shoe, the University Blue, that dropped last week or 2 weeks ago. The raffle. I went to talk to the Foot Locker guys, and they told me there were 700,000 entrants for 3 stores, and they only had 2 size runs each. So 2 size runs is what? Size 7 to 14, right? So you're looking at 16 pairs of shoes in each store times 3, 700,000 people try to vie for the same shoe. It's become a resale game. And so if you can find a pair of shoes for retail, if you're lucky, that's great. If not, you're online trying to find, resale, and shoes go from literally $230 to double overnight, and then in some cases triple, quadruple. Especially with this last year after watching Last Dance, everyone's shoes went up by 3-4 times the price. So it's ridiculous. So for me, I look at it as actually a business investment because we do content like this.
Yeah.
So if I buy a pair of shoes, we look at shooting it, we look at the possibility of reselling it, and if not, we'll just wear them. And really, I'm still a guy that just wants to wear a pair of shoes at the end of the day. So, yeah.
I was one of the 700,000.
There you go, right? Can you fit into the kid sizes?
Yeah.
And that's interesting too, people don't know, right?
Yeah.
The resale values of men's kid sizes are higher than men's regular sizes because women can fit into the boy sizes, right? Because they don't make, I still think there's a huge inequity in terms of the amount of sneakers that should be made specifically for women. That's a big problem too. I think the brands need to be a lot better with finding like a court purple like this, which is, I believe, like one of the best shoes of 2020.
Yeah.
They should make a run for women as well.
Please.
Specifically, not just making a run for men and then saying, well, women, you got to try to get one of the men's shoes. It's not fair anyway.
Okay, so let's get into the kick talk, the 3 questions that I ask everybody. Your top 3. So is this one of them? Or 4? How many did you bring?
Well, like my favorite shoes, if I were to rank like
Your go-to, your top.
my top would always be a Jordan 1.
All right.
I'm a Jordan 1 person. I think, you know, I'm lucky enough to grow up in the area, remember him getting drafted, remember him being on a really cruddy team for 6-7 years, but he still has shoes. Remembering that episode of David Letterman when he went on to talk about his shoe, because back then, funny enough, the only color shoe you could wear in the NBA was white. The league had banned any color on shoes.
Yeah.
So he could wear a white color block with colors, but he couldn't wear a reverse.
Yeah.
So when he wore it's called the band for a reason, he wore the Jordan 1 band, which is the black color block, he got fined $5,000 every time he wore them, but Nike agreed to pay for them. So that's like the evolution of the 1, right? But the 1 really isn't that comfortable, to be honest.
No.
You know, you can't wear them for too long. Your feet hurt, they cut into your ankles a little bit. For me, I think comfort, there's 2 other Jordans that I really love. Actually, there's 3 other Jordans that I love. The 3, which is the infamous 1987-88 dunk off with the picture where he's flying in the air.
Yeah.
That's the 3. And then there's the 4, because Do the Right Thing. That's the shoe that they wore, that Sal or not Mookie wore in the show in the movie, and then someone gets their shoe stepped on. Like that's the 4, the Mars Blackman shoe. I just remember that commercial with like Michael Jordan dunking on Spike Lee in the commercial. So there's something nostalgic about that because I grew up in that era.
Yeah.
And then I love the 11s, which of course goes back to Space Jam. Even though when Space Jam came out, I was already not an adolescent, but there's a thing about that shoe that is a lot more storied than the actual Space Jam shoe in the movie, right? Because that's the actual shoe that was made for Jordan, and the shoe that they gave him, a lot of times the shoes are released during NBA playoffs. And that shoe was supposed to be for launch during the playoffs, but it wasn't ready for him in game 1. So infamously, he actually wore a pair of shoes from Penny Hardaway for game 1. He asked Penny for a pair of shoes, he wore Penny's, and I think he lost the game, or did he win the game? Anyway, the story goes he wore Penny's for the first 2 games, and then he came back and they said, we got a pair of Bands for you, but you don't wear them. And he wore them anyway, and then that shoe became infamous. But that shoe is so comfortable, so comfortable. I love those shoes. So those are like my Jordan era shoes, but I love a lot of shoes. I mean, I love them all, to be honest.
You know your stuff. That's all I gotta say. He knows the stuff. We're getting educated right now. So I see that you brought a couple pairs.
Yeah.
Let's bring them out. So number 1.
Number 1, this is a rendition. See, this is how they get you, right? It's not just the shoes. It's like they got you on the model. So I love 3s. But then as a kid, I was a Georgetown fan. Like Patrick Ewing, Alonzo Mourning, Allen Iverson. I always wanted to go to Georgetown as a kid. I don't know, when you're a kid you think, one day I'm going to walk on at a university and play basketball. Never. But it was a great school because we had family in DC. So this came out and it's called the Midnight Navy, but it's actually dubbed the Georgetown because of the colors. So it's got the gray and midnight navy of the Georgetown color block, and it's in a 3, right? So it's got the cement on the midsole, and it's so comfortable. You feel the tumbling leather on this,
Good.
right? So I just picked these up, and I actually paid retail. They were sitting on a shelf. I couldn't believe it. Yeah, so I got these, and this adds to my 3 collection. So I think I got like 7 pairs of 3s now in different color blocks.
Wow.
Yeah, and I'll wear them this summer. It's just it's still been really wet and cruddy outside, so I can't wear them yet.
And outside is kind of closed.
Yeah, and outside is closed, and people can't appreciate the shoes anyway, right?
Yeah.
It's weird. Do you get this feeling now, like walking down the street, people actually look down at your feet?
They do.
They literally look down at your feet.
They do.
And I kind of feel like when I go to a store, they judge you.
Yes.
And I'm like, I kind of feel like I have to wear a certain pair of shoes if I think I'm going to go shoe shopping, because it's like you're not worthy. But I like to wear beaters too.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that.
Like, okay, I don't usually do this, but I'm wearing a beater today.
Oh.
But it's a classic beater.
It is.
This is the first re-release of the old Reebok pump, and this is the tennis pump, because Reebok just re-released the basketball pump last week. So I thought I'd rock these today, and it kind of matched my colorway.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, so what's next?
Oddly enough, I bought my first ever pair of Yeezys last month, and like everyone's on this Yeezy thing, and I've always wanted a pair, but aesthetically, I don't actually think they don't offer me. You know, part of it is I have a really wide foot, and so because it's the stretchy material,
it will show the shape.
It shows the shape of my foot, but oddly enough, the guy at this store let me try the shoe on. Which, if you guys didn't know this, they don't let people try on shoes like this anymore. So Jordan 1s and Yeezys, they don't allow people to try them on, because if you try them on, they're no longer DS. And if you don't know what DS is, DS means dead stock. So you can't actually resell a pair of shoes for premium if they've been laced, if the lace bag's been torn off, if the paper's taken off, if your foot touches it, or if the box is damaged. It's crazy now.
It's crazy.
But I tried them on, and I was like, I felt like I was walking on, I don't know, like if you would put Jello on a cloud. That's what it felt like, right? Yeah. And so, and I paid retail for them, so I bought them. And then, of course, I took them home, and my wife's like, so where's my pair? Because I know she's always wanted a pair of Yeezys before me. But I thought I'd give them a shot. But the problem is with Yeezys, if you probably noticed this, it's like there's a new pair of Yeezys every week now.
All right, what's next?
The shoe that I thought I wouldn't get, this is what we're relegated to, right? You're relegated to when you walk into a shoe store. If there's a shoe that you were not anticipating buying, but they just happen to be on the shelf, you feel inclined to buy it because you've been taking L's all year.
Yes.
So last year, I don't know how many raffles you entered. I probably entered 100 raffles. I went 0 for 100 last year. Yeah. Right? So you can't even buy, even with hard cold cash, you can't buy shoes. So this shoe just happened to sit. I would say that the store manager did a very good job with enabling me. She told me that they didn't have a 13, and that if I was comfortable in sizing down, that I should consider it, and she let me try it on. Secretly, she pulled me to the corner. She goes, I'll let you try them on, because I got a few pairs of 12s. Yeah. So I tried them on, and then she did the whole, yo, you know, this shoe, like, I'm not a 6 person either, but the Carmine is like historical, and like, can you imagine rocking with a nice pair of shorts and some tube socks? And I'm like, I'm envisioning what I'd be looking like walking down Bathurst Avenue in the summertime. And then I go, so there's some controversy with the shoe, because there's a little bit of a defect, is that this little pink hue on the midsole is actually a factory defect. But Nike decided not to recall them like they usually do, and they just released them anyway. So she's like, well, there is a pink hue on this one shoe. I didn't find one that wasn't. I'm like, you know, actually, I like the pink hue. I tried them on, and they were snug. And then you start to convince yourself, right? You're like, well, look, today I'm wearing extra thick stance socks. I'll just wear really thin socks. Yeah. And then you're like, I'm tying them a little tighter. I'll just tie them looser. And all of a sudden, you walk out with a pair of Carmines. But this is one of the, I would say, like, if there are like, there's a fleet of Jordan shoes that are like, I wouldn't call them grails, but historically have a presence. The Carmine has a presence, right? So yeah, I picked them up because I only have one other pair of 6s. For me, like, it's all generational. I didn't love this shoe. I thought it was really bulky when it first came out, but it is a shoe that looks pretty dope on foot. Yeah. It looks way better on foot than it does on the shelf. Yeah, so. It's true.
It's true. I see these, like, if I were to go in the store, I'd be like, I don't know. Then I see someone wearing it, I'm like, not that bad.
Yeah, they look way better. And if you've got, it also depends on, for me, it's like everything you wear, it's how you rock it. If you rock it with the right gear and the right attitude sometimes. True. Because there's people that buy shoes that they rock in their Jordans, like a grail pair of Jordans, like they rock in Crocs.
Yeah.
You know, like baggy dad jeans and a dirty t-shirt and like they're dirty and stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it doesn't do the shoe justice.
At all.
Right? So,
yeah. Shout out to that lady.
Shout out to that lady. I'm sending you fried
Free
chicken too. Fried chicken to 2 places.
All right, what's next?
I got the Court Purples. This is the last pair that I brought, right?
Yes.
You know, I think every year when I see the release calendar for Jordans, I always like mark the 4 that I really, really, really want. And if there's not 4 that I want, then it's whatever.
Yeah.
And last year there were probably 3 shoes that I really wanted. This was one of them. The Mochas were the other ones, which I don't have. So anyone got a 13 plug and they're not like $1,000, $700, hook me up and we'll do a trade or something. I'll send you chicken for a month or something, right? I love this shoe.
They're beautiful.
This colorway, I don't know what it is. It just sings to me.
I love them.
Aren't they beautiful? Like it's got a purple bottom. It's just like they're so pretty. I don't know what it is about this shoe.
Beauty.
So this is the only one of the 3 that I really wanted last year that I got.
All right.
So.
Now, are there any past releases that you wish you got?
Oh my gosh, there's a shit boatload. So I don't know if I was allowed to say that, but there is a ton. I mean, like, if I wanted to end the game today, I'd want 3 shoes. I'd want the Chicago one, the OG. I want the bread, and I want the band, and then I would clean up and say that's it.
Call it a day.
I think those are the 3 that I want. I don't know if I'd necessarily put them on foot, but if I had them, then I could say I'm good. I'm good if I don't buy another pair of shoes, although I probably would never stop buying them. But like,
so are there any upcoming releases that you plan on getting?
Maybe. I mean, so I haven't seen the full release of this year's Jordan 1s yet. I mean, I lost out on the University Blues already. There's some weird colorways coming out that I'm not sure if I want or not. But, you know, if they were to re-release like a Storm Blue or like a pure UNC Chicago, like I'm just waiting for those like classic colorways. Okay. Like the 3, if they come back with like the black cements or the breads, which I didn't get in the bread 4s last year, I'd line up for those. I wouldn't line up. I would virtually line up.
Yeah.
Me lining up is over. I'd rather pay a kid to do that.
You could do that.
You could, right? So I would do that. I'd pay a kid to do that.
Any volunteers?
I got fried chicken too.
There you
and
go.
Burgers and noodles.
Chicken. There you go.
And a signed copy of my cookbook, which has sneaker nostalgia.
All right. Well, there you have it. You kicked it with Mo. Thank you so much for taking the time to come out.
Thank you.
Do you want to give a little shout out, you know, let them know what's coming up with you?
Yeah, we got a big summer coming up. Got some few projects coming. The one thing I do want to say is let's try to make sneakers attainable for kids again.
Yes.
You know, I think when you were a kid and when I was a kid, there was this joy of opening up a box of sneakers, and that's the same feeling I get when I open them today. And I'd love for all the manufacturers, you make enough money, let's find a way to get these shoes onto the kids that really deserve it. And I'm looking, I'd like to see if there's a project out there some way that we can find a way to get shoes on kids' feet more often, because they deserve to look fresh too.
Yeah, right? They do. There you go. He's for the community, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in to Kick It with Mo. I'll catch you on the next one. Did you enjoy that episode? Well, do not forget to like, comment, subscribe, share this video, and I'll catch you on the next one.